This War of Mine is a game developed by 11-Bit Studios in 2014. It is a survival game based on what life is like in a war zone for the civilians. In this video, I hope to discuss this game, its contents, and whether or not I believe this game did a good job on its intended purpose, to convey a feeling of empathy for people going through these struggles. This video will progress in sections, starting with mechanics, then moving on to tasks and goals, then rewards, challenges, and so forth. With each section, I will make arguments as to why these design choices and functions help contribute to the overall purpose/message the game was trying to deliver. The mechanics within this War of Mine are mainly delivered through the commands of the player to the characters, rather than the player taking a role within the body of a civilian. When playing the game, you are within a 2.5D view towards a home with survivors inside. You control these survivors with point-and-click methods of interaction. I believe this is a good choice in conveying empathy to the user, as it disconnects the player from actually being in the shoes of the characters, allowing them to look at the characters as separate people rather than playing as them. This gives the characters a separation that allows emotions to grow and develop separately rather than them acting as empty husks for the player to control. They are people that can, at times, give up on the player's commands. To accomplish objectives within the game, you must click on the given characters and select an icon on the screen that will correlate with what you want them to do. For example, you will click on the icon above a chair to command that character to sit down. Throughout the game, you will use this method of interaction to do almost everything, even combat. This design helps make multitasking easier on the player. You can easily command multiple people at once with this form of interaction. This method also plays along well with the points I brought up before with the player-character disconnect. This style gives the characters the option to deny commands when not feeling up to it for various reasons. Without empathetic feeling towards your characters, you won't last very long in this game. Next in this video will be 3 short clips. Each clip will display one of the main mechanics from the core loop. There will be 3 of them. One explaining how the day cycle works and what you typically do in that order during the day. And the next is the scavenging, just to get a clear idea of how the game works. After that, I will discuss even further about how this exact style of gameplay helps convey empathy and works in the best tone as it possibly could have compared to, for instance, a first-person shooter style game or, other examples like that. The basic core loop of this War of Mine is to scavenge/collect resources while guarding your home. Then you eat and sleep / take care of your civilians / characters. Then you craft the necessities you need to continue. The main thing to point out about this core loop within the game is that it focuses on such a basic idea, just eating and sleeping. Usually in games, this could involve things such as upgrading equipment and all of that, but this game has something just as simple as eating and sleeping. This really kind of makes you feel for the characters as you realize that one of the main things that they just need to focus on is just eating and sleeping to survive. At the start of the core loop involving scavenging for resources at night, when the day is over and you decide who you're going to send out, you have a lot of decisions you must make. You must decide who you're going to send out based on, who you think is up to the task. If you really feel that certain characters just aren't going to make it, or they shouldn't go out, or you think some might just have better chance than others, using empathy in that sort can really help you decide who you think should go out, who has the best chance, and who can do the best out there. Typically, I will make sure that I keep my scavenger character in the best tip-top shape as I can. While, for instance, Marco in this scenario, he can hold extra equipment, so I typically keep him as well as possible. Then I will usually, when I send them out, I will make a lot of decisions such as where I'm going to send them. Typically I send them to areas where there's least likely, mode of attack. I don't want them to be put in any danger. If I have the option to send them into an area where they can just scavenge freely without any harm, I will. Even if I find that there are places I can go with elderly people or more innocent people that I could steal from, even if they do have better loot than the areas where I could otherwise find lesser loot without stealing, I still wouldn't choose it, because it's important in this game to keep character moods up. You have to understand and put yourself in your character's shoes. When you're living this type of lifestyle, robbing people and putting other people in bad positions really hurts group morale. It can break trust between groups of people, especially teams like this. And it's best to, especially with the backstories of these characters, understanding them and their roles in their own lives, these are people that really care for others. They wouldn't steal, theoretically, unless they absolutely had to. Otherwise, it could theoretically be a form of ludonarrative dissonance, because according to some of the characters' descriptions, they do not seem like the person who would do horrible things, such as murder elderly couples, and so on. Typically, during the character management section of my core gameplay loop, I will typically have most of my characters sleeping while one character goes around accomplishing all of the daily tasks that need to be done. Typically, the character that does this is the character that's doing the best and is either the least tired, most likely the least tired, because most characters, if they're very hungry or otherwise, I will have them go and eat before heading to bed. This is important because if in a war zone, you need to make sure that you and all your friends or whoever you are with manage your time well in the most productive manner to make sure you all get the sleep, proper rest you need, the proper nutrition you need, while still being able to stay awake during important times to guard the house or go scavenging out for food and resources. Now this is the part of the day where, after I've checked up on everybody's sleep, it's about the time where I go through, see what I can make, what I can craft, who I can feed in an appropriate amount of time before the day ends, or I still need to send people to sleep. In this type of world, life is unpredictable, and you have to understand that sometimes certain things go before others, even if it is in a designated loop, quote unquote. Sometimes you will eat before you sleep, sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you won't have time to sleep and you'll be sending very tired people out to scavenge. That's just the nature of war, and to understand that is very important. Unpredictability is very, very common in these scenarios. But typically, I will use this time to craft and filter water to then make better meals to make sure my characters are fed well. And I will use this time to build whatever I can. I have to choose what I will build in a timely fashion, because I don't want to build something that's going to be a waste of resources. And this type of game also has a very hospital-esque form of motive, and there are so many things that need to be done, but everything you do in the game is more on a which is a higher priority rather than I don't want to do this or this is better than this. Everything is important, it's just a game about prioritization over anything else. The main objectives for the player to accomplish involve gathering resources through various means, constructing appropriate necessities, making sure the characters are alive and happy, and to keep raids at a bare minimum until the war ends. These goals can be accomplished through a multitude of different player-character interactions that involve many difficult choices. Sometimes it can be hard to decide what's best for the characters at the time. One of the number one most important aspects of this game is that while the player may have many tasks to accomplish, just having the characters survive the war is always the player's top priority. These tasks and goals give the player an objective that acts as a sort of catalyst, if you will, for the empathy to grow. The player wants them to survive, as that's the only way to win. With that in mind, the player may grow attached to these characters, feeling afraid for their life at times. And if that isn't empathy, then I don't really know what is. This game can be both rewarding and punishing. However, the punishments heavily outweigh the rewards in terms of effect. Rewards in this game feel more like a quick gasp for air while drowning, while the punishments feel like someone is strapping 20-pound dumbbells to your leg. This helps build a fearful tone within the game. If you don't get those quick gasps for air, you may never make it to the end. Each time you mess up, you just get dragged further and further away from that precious bubble of air your lungs oh so desire. Some examples of rewarding moments in the game include coming back from a productive night from scavenging to find out that you weren't raided, NPCs gifting items to you in return for your good doing, or having the merchant show up at your door. Days like this are like a breath of fresh air almost. More examples include opening a loot pile to find a huge mass of food or killing bandits for morale boosts and free weapons. These moments draw me into the game, allowing me to feel hope for my characters, knowing that there must be more of these moments up ahead. However, just as there are rewards, there are punishments. Punishments in this game are, as said before, very unforgiving. If you mess up, it can, at times, even end your playthrough. If you go through a night in this game without finding any food or proper supplies, it can starve your characters to death or delay important needs such as sick/wounded characters not receiving their proper treatment. As well, if you make the wrong decisions on what to build with your resources, it can heavily impede your progression, eventually ruining your character's chances at survival. While these are just a few simple examples, this can even go to an extreme form of instant, split-second decisions in the game that may lead to life or death. If you head in the wrong area, your characters can end up dead in an instant. These punishments can heavily influence the player's feelings towards the game. They will feel an empathetic form of fear for the characters in any circumstance, needing to put themselves in their shoes just to have them survive. The player may find themselves facing many challenges within the game on a constant basis. One of the core mechanics within the game involve characters' statuses, making each of them and their well-beings a challenge in itself. Keeping your characters fed, happy, and healthy is the most frequent challenge the player will face within the game. This goes much deeper, however, as these basic challenges are also affected by overlaying challenges, such as resource scavenging in dangerous areas, enemy positioning, raids at night, and the split-second decision-making needed for various scenarios the player may face. Sometimes you will learn that you even have to bite the bullet and steal from innocent people just to make it through the war. For me, this hurt. I hated the feeling of theft from innocent people, even though I had to just keep my characters alive. All of these challenges place an extremely heavy burden on the characters' shoulders, and the players as well. They have to juggle the needs of everyone or they will not survive. This can really convey a proper feel of exhaustion/tension to the player, as one may feel as if they lived in a war zone. The art direction took a dark and gritty view to convey just how hopeless it feels to be present in a war zone. The game also used realistically modeled characters with little artistic flair/style. I appreciate this for the purpose of empathetic feelings, as I believe being able to relate to the characters as much as possible is very important when attempting to convey this type of message. The game also used some slight color in areas to emphasize certain things. For example, fire is not as gray/bland as the rest of the game's art, as it signifies warmth for the character. The sound effects and music in the game are relaxed and subtle. Music is used to convey a casual, yet tense atmosphere. The overall artistic direction for the game really serves the overall core mechanics on a great bed of visual storytelling. They function well for their purpose, and if I was shown the music from this game along with just a screenshot of the game itself, I would get the message and tone loud and clear just from the visuals. Combat in this war of mine is frequently mostly used as a last resort. When playing, I would avoid combat at all costs to make sure my characters were safe from harm. This was mostly due to the fact that in most cases, I could find the type of resources I need out in the open without even bothering against an enemy. Being confronted with an enemy, however, in the game, even though I wasn't in the shoes of my character, would make my heart skip a beat. The game heavily shows just how quickly your character's life can end when confronted with a gun barrel, and that game is not afraid to flaunt it. Combat is rough, and when in the shoes of civilians from a war zone, they typically wouldn't be combat trained. In most scenarios, the characters have a strong disadvantage against enemies, especially soldiers. While the player may feel that they could take on these enemies personally, the game forces a disconnect, personifying the characters away from the player. In the character's life, they don't know how to fight, and are typically not going to beat a soldier in hand-to-hand combat, or even a gunfight. This war of mine conveys a feeling of empathy I've yet to feel in a video game. While I have felt empathy before in other games, it was usually only for mere moments or just a sequence, rather than for the whole experience. Every decision I would make in this game was driven by my empathetic feelings towards my characters. As you play, you will grow attached to them, as you have almost nurtured them like a strange mother from above. When one dies, you feel betrayed and angry, like the rest of the characters who take part in the team. Playing this game, I have felt happiness, upset, and even vengeance at one point from the death of one of my characters. Rarely in this game did I ever just base my decisions off of fun rather than my character's best interests. However, this game did have various areas of disconnect. Some examples of this include buggy character interactions, which can almost appear humorous at times when the game is trying to display an emotional moment, lack of character backstory given up front, and moments of accidental character mismanagement that can make you see your character as a moronic AI rather than a person. However, these moments are few and far between and mostly consist of simple UI issues scattered throughout and bugs. I believe firmly that if you want a game that will make you think about ethical decisions, this game is great. It will make you think, feel, and understand more about the type of life these people go through daily. This war of mine accomplished its goal in making me feel for these characters, and I am happy that I got a chance to play it.